The Indian subcontinent is one of the most densely populated and diverse regions in the world. With almost 2 billion people, its 7 countries account for roughly 1/4 of the world's population. The subcontinent is also known as South Asia and is generally thought to comprise India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives. It's home to some of the oldest civilizations in the world, and it is the birthplace of some of the major religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. Countries in the Indian subcontinent share similar cultural traits relating to food, music, sport, and history. Their economies are developing and modernizing, with some growing faster than others. And it wasn't so long ago that some of these countries were all simply a part of India. Which leads to the question, why hasn't the Indian subcontinent become one country? While these countries certainly share some cultural and historical similarities, there are also significant differences which have often led to bitter disputes and violent conflicts. The most obvious difference between the countries in South Asia is religion. That's created some serious rifts, leading to ongoing hostilities and, in worst cases, war. Hinduism and Islam are the 2 biggest religions in the region, with Buddhism, Sikhism, and Christianity also practiced widely. However, it's the ongoing tension between Hindus and Muslims that has led to the biggest and deepest divisions in this region. Religion is undoubtedly the major reason why the subcontinent isn't one country, with the main antagonists being India and Pakistan. The 2 countries have engaged in 4 wars and continue to threaten each other by assembling a worrying stockpile of nuclear weapons. Hostilities between Hindus and Muslims came to a head in 1947 when Britain decided to pull out of India. India was partitioned into 2, creating the Muslim-majority Pakistan and the Hindu-majority India. This led to the biggest surge of migration in history, with millions of people suddenly having to relocate. Hindus and Sikhs upped and left for India, and Muslims scurried westward into Pakistan. Violence erupted across the 2 countries, with as many as 2 million people thought to have died in the chaos. 30 years later, the Indo-Pakistani War broke out in the Bengal region next to India, which at the time was East Pakistan. The predominantly Bengal people were dissatisfied with Pakistan's rule and demanded independence. India was inevitably drawn into the war before the United Nations stepped in to mediate. From this, the Muslim-majority country of Bangladesh was formed, gaining independence from Pakistan. Bangladesh now has around 150 million Muslims, making it one of the biggest Muslim populations in the world. Still, approximately 12% of people in Bangladesh are thought to be Hindus, again adding to the complex diversity in the region. This is what the melting pot of religion looks like in the subcontinent. Predominantly Hindu countries are India and Nepal, and Hinduism is the 2nd biggest religion in Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bhutan. It's estimated that about 94% of the world's Hindus live in India. Islam is the biggest religion in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the Maldives. There are also over 200 million Muslims living in India. And then we have Sri Lanka and Bhutan, where Buddhism is the majority religion. You begin to get the picture. The history of religion in South Asia goes back thousands of years. Hinduism was the first main religion in the region. It started up sometime between 2300 and 1500, before the Common Era. Hinduism is unique in that no particular individual is credited with giving birth to the religion. Instead, its followers agree that it was founded on an agreed-upon system of beliefs and values. Buddhism grew out of Hinduism, with the teachings of a young Hindu prince in the 5th century BCE. Then, in the 8th century of the Common Era, Arab invaders introduced Islam to South Asia, where it began to spread east across the subcontinent. Islamic teachings began in northern India, then into what is now Bangladesh, and down to the south of the subcontinent. The introduction of Islam was the beginning of a strained and often volatile relationship between South Asia's Hindus and Muslims. The considerable differences in worldviews and the theology between the 2 religions have made it tough going. For starters, Islam is a monotheistic religion with its followers worshipping the one God and adhering to a strict set of rules. While Hinduism also comes with its own set of disciplines, it's very much polytheistic of a religion. Hindus embrace many gods and don't seek to actively convert others to Hinduism. From the 8th century onwards, the subcontinent was subjected to regular Arab invasions, and the number of converted Muslims grew and grew. By the late 16th century, European powers were aware of India and its potential as a colony and trading base. India was renowned for its spices, silk, cotton, tea, and opium. Britain seized the opportunity and set up the British East India Company in 1600. India was eventually colonized by the British in the 19th century, where they remained until the end of World War II. Britain was simply exhausted by the global conflict and unable to manage the continued tensions and outbreaks of violence between Indian Hindus and Muslims. In 1947, Britain decided to partition India into 2 countries, and the Muslim-based Pakistan was formed. Britain wished everyone the best of luck and swiftly pulled out of South Asia. The ensuing turmoil lasted several years and caused millions of deaths. One of the notable fatalities in this tumultuous period was Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi had been pushing for a peaceful coexistence between Indian Hindus and Muslims. He was killed by a Hindu fanatic who thought Gandhi was too pro-Muslim. The most polarizing dispute between Pakistan and India was, and still is, over the region of Kashmir. Kashmir is located at the northernmost tip of the Indian subcontinent, at the base of the Himalayas. When India was partitioned, both Pakistan and India demanded control of the region. It had a majority Muslim population, but was ruled by a Hindu. The Indus River also flows through Kashmir, making it a valuable piece of land for irrigation and agriculture. This, coupled with neither country wanting to concede to the other, has resulted in several wars. Today, Kashmir is partially controlled by both countries, with China holding a small area in the north. The India and Pakistan relationship remains frosty at best. Both countries have been engaged in a tense arms race and rank among the world's 10 most powerful countries in terms of nuclear capability. Animosity on the subcontinent isn't restricted to India and Pakistan, though. Relationships have been strained between Bangladesh and Pakistan ever since the Liberation War of 1971, when the Pakistan military committed widespread atrocities on Bangladesh civilians. Bangladesh has long since demanded an official apology from Pakistan. This would certainly go a long way towards not only improving relations, but opening up mutually beneficial trade agreements. However, it hasn't been all doom and gloom in the Indian subcontinent. On the whole, relationships between these countries have been, and remain, friendly and cooperative. In 2014, India initiated its Neighborhood First policy aimed at strengthening relations between India and its surrounding countries. The goals of this initiative are to build regional stability and economic growth. The underlying philosophy is that a stable and collaborative South Asia means positive growth for each country. With the exception of India and Pakistan relations, this has proven to be very doable. India has always maintained a close relationship with Sri Lanka and has strong trading ties with Bangladesh. Pakistan and Sri Lanka have also enjoyed a relatively conflict-free and amicable relationship since they both gained independence after World War II. Similarly, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh also have a stable history of close bilateral ties. Both enjoy the mutual benefits of trade agreements and, more recently, tourism. Despite their religious differences, countries in South Asia still have much in common. They share similar music, dance, linguistic, and cooking traditions. Their weddings are colorful and elaborate, and they place huge importance on cultural festivals. Many people even dress the same. Probably the single biggest unifying force in the subcontinent is sport, particularly cricket. The game is played passionately throughout South Asia and has a huge participation in audience numbers, make it the world's second most popular sport behind soccer. So, regardless of the ongoing tensions in the region, could South Asia become unified in the future? While it's unlikely that one country would ever be formed, a politically united subcontinent would bring out huge benefits to the region. For one, it would bring some much-needed stability and strengthen these economies. The huge military budgets of India and Pakistan would be slashed, freeing up funds to be better used for economic and social development. Contentious issues, such as Kashmir, would of course have to be resolved somehow. Yet, even at the height of upheaval during the Indian partition, Mahatma Gandhi saw a future of a religiously diverse subcontinent coexisting peacefully, and reminded people that Hindus and Muslims were sons of the same soil. With this in mind lies hope. Perhaps by focusing on similarities instead of differences, South Asia can start shaping a brighter future.